Mother of Gods by Skye MacKinnon. 25 years ago. Thor is having a bad day. Little storm clouds are hovering over his head, and I know that nothing I can say would lift his mood. When Thor gets angry, the weather gets angry too. I lift my hand and one of my humans comes running with an umbrella. He opens his mouth to say something, but I snap my fingers and his lips press together, his voice gone. I'm busy, and I don't need a human to interrupt me. He shoots me a scared look, then shuffles off, leaving me alone with the god of thunder. Luckily, we're sitting outside on the veranda. I'd hate there to be water on my precious rugs. The first raindrops fall from the clouds circling Thor, but they turn into snowflakes before they reach the ground. He shoots me an annoyed look, and I hold up my hands in mock apology. I can't help it. Besides, you still haven't told me what this is all about. Lucifer, he growls, and I sigh, waving for one of my attendants. It will take a lot of ice wine to get me through this conversation. What has he done now? I ask, trying to keep the annoyance out of my voice. Thor is one of my closest allies, and I need to keep it that way. War's coming, and people are starting to take sides. I have no doubt that I will be victorious, but it can't hurt to be prepared. Invited me to his wedding. I suppress a laugh at the horror that's written all over Thor's face. Maybe I won't need that much wine after all. Shouldn't you feel honoured? I ask innocently. He's not invited me. Yes, he wouldn't dare invite you. But me, he has no respect for me. He must feel we're on the same level, even though he's far beneath me. Weddings, bah! A little lightning bolt breaks through the clouds and shatters one of the marble tiles behind him. I swallow my anger at him and destroying my palace and smile sweetly. Who are you going to take with you? Nobody. I'm not going. I sigh at the sight of this large, muscly god behaving like a moody teenager. Why does it always fall to me to deal with him? Couldn't his wife do something? But then I remember how his wife was more interested in Earth and playing with the mortals, and my mood softens. Lucifer hasn't taken sides yet. If he's planning to join Angus, we need to know before it happens. Luce may not be the strongest of us, but he's got a large following. I smile at Thor, putting some icy sparkles into my eyes. Please go to his wedding. You can even take one of my ladies with you if you wish. I send a thought to Tamara, telling her to send some of my prettiest female guardians. Thor has always had a spot for blonde, long-legged beauties. He shakes his head. No, I won't. He's not worth the trouble of travelling into the fire realm. It's so hot in there. He shivers, which I think may not be the right response. But then, what do I know about fire? I've never felt it before. Fire snuffs out when it comes close to me, and even if the flames manage to touch me, I don't feel them. It's been a mystery to me for millennia, but despite being the most powerful goddess in existence, I'm not sure I'm ever going to unravel it. My world is permanently cold, just how I like it. My humans complain when they first arrive, but they soon learn that it's not healthy to do so. Compared to other gods, I treat my humans well, but being too nice to them is not beneficial. They work better if you apply some pressure to them. Beira, Thor says softly, the clouds above his head disappearing in a gentle breeze. Would you like to accompany me to this wedding? Finally! I thought I'd have to leave even more breadcrumbs for him to get the message. Being the mother of gods has a lot of advantages, but it also means that I never get invited to anything. People are scared of me, as they should, but still, sometimes I'd like to be one of them, at least for a day. And right now, that is exactly what Thor is offering me. Travelling with me has its advantages. For one, I don't need gates to transport me between realms. I built this world. Its physical laws have to bend to my will. And two, I'm infinitely entertaining. Thor seems to think so too, until he puts his arm around my waist and I'm forced to send some ice magic into it. He quickly pulls back and has the decency to look downtrodden. Granted, my dress hugs my thin waist in a way that invites looks and touches, but that is the fun about the whole thing. Usually, I'd not go through the trouble of putting on a dress like this unless it's for one of my own court functions, but as long as we don't know who Lucifer supports, I'm going to use every tool at my disposal. We stride through the crowd and it parts in front of us, hurriedly making way for me and Thor. He's one of the older gods, and that gives him a certain air of importance. Nothing compared to the reverence pouring towards me, of course. I don't often leave my realm, and even there I keep my public appearances to a minimum. The assassination attempts have increased in recent decades, and it's unwise to stay outside for too long. I might get blood on my dress. I scan the crowd for any of Angus's lackeys. Most of the gods in attendance are minor, and the few that are higher in the ranks have sworn allegiance to me. "Brother," Thor suddenly says, and clasps arm with Loki, who has approached us from the side. They are a spitting image of each other, except that Thor has rather more facial hair. I wink at Loki and he blushes, probably remembering the nights we spent together about a century ago, when he was one of my favourites. I try to remember why that ended, but nothing comes. It can't have been important. I change my lovers frequently, every decade or so, to keep life exciting. In recent times, though, none of them have been remotely satisfactory. I'm tempted to create a new god simply to warm my bed, but creation's not as easy as it used to be. Unbound magic has become scarce at the same time as the realms have become saturated with gods, and nature protests with each new one I call into existence. There are some laws even I must follow. I leave Thor with his brother and mingle. It would be much easier if people weren't shrinking back to make way for me. Am I really this fearsome? I suppose I am. "My queen, it's an honour!" someone calls in a search of the crowd. With a puff of smoke, Lucifer appears in front of me. He's as good-looking as I remember. His black hair is pulled back, his dark eyes burn like smouldering coals, promising nights of steam and heat, his mouth a kissable invitation. His lean body is wrapped in a black cloak, but underneath he wears his trademark human-style suit. I can't remember if it was Angus or myself who created him. I hope it was the summerkin. Sleeping with my own creations sometimes makes me feel a little bit icky. I give him a cold smile. "Why wasn't I invited?" He bows deep. "My queen, I meant no insult. I simply didn't think you'd grace me with your presence, and to avoid the disappointment, I decided heavy-heartedly not to send you an invitation. Forgive me, great Beira." I smile inside. He's always been a charmer, and even though I know it's all empty words, he does flatter me. Outside, though, I remain my cool, composed self. "Next time you will invite me." He nods repeatedly. "Of course, Mother of Gods." I cringe. I won't be sleeping with him tonight after all, not with someone who calls me Mother. That's the ultimate turn-off. Pity, I remember how well endowed he was. I'll have to look for someone else to satisfy my physical desires tonight. "How is your new wife?" I ask in pretence of interest. He smirks. "She's enjoying her new home. She's from a place called Norway and very much enjoying the warmth of my palace." Lucifer likes to take human women for his wives. Due to some strange morality living within him, he marries them and lets them live with him until they die. Of course, he still has other lovers, but in a small way he stays loyal to his wives. I don't see the attraction in humans. They are short-lived, weak, stupid, and most importantly, utterly non-magical. I've tried a few of the human men living at my palace, but they've all been disappointing. Gods are still the best choice, closely followed by guardians. "Would you like to meet her, my lady?" Lucifer asks, and I shake my head in irritation. Why would I want to meet a human woman who will only be here for a few mere decades? It's not worth my time. "I'd be more interested in some canapés," I reply, searching for the buffet. Lucifer's hospitality is famous across the realms. Lucifer smiles and snaps his fingers. A human comes running and my breath catches in my throat. He is breathtaking. Golden hair frames his head. A few loose curls fall to just above his bright blue eyes. His angular jaw is smoothly shaven, but a few blonde hairs peek from below the collar of his half-buttoned shirt. His arms and chest strain against the fabric, promising muscles to hold a woman tight. He's a stunning specimen, unbelievably so for a human. I let my magic roam over him to confirm his species, but there's no doubt about it. I know he's not worth it. He'd die before I'd become tired of him, but still I feel drawn to him. "Colan, show our queen to the buffet," Lucifer commands, and the human bows deeply. Without looking back to my host, I follow the man through the crowd, enjoying the view of his perfectly formed behind. I imagine my hands on him, pulling him close. But no, I remind myself, humans just aren't worth it. But maybe... Who says he needs to be a human? The roof of my highest tower is where I feel closest to the elements. This is where my magic is strongest. I have the image of Lucifer's pretty human burned into my mind, ready to create him for myself, as a guardian. Guardians are immortal. Of course they can be killed, but they don't die from old age or sickness like humans. Their stamina is better too, which will be important for this particular man. I'm going to make him my favourite. I have created hundreds, if not thousands, of guardians. For those made to serve in the palace or to defend the realm, looks weren't important. For the guardians I created for my own pleasure, I tried to make them as close to the ideal man as possible. Strong, sexy, good-looking, but somehow I get bored. After a while they lose their attraction and I assign them a new role or pass them to lower gods as presents. However, this time I have a model I'm basing my new creation on. My new lover will be an exact copy of Colan, with the exception of the parts I didn't see. I thought about Lucifer sending him to model for me, but that would ruin the fun. This way, I can imagine what his manly parts will look like. They will be big, to match my appetite. I focus on the magic saturating the cold air around me. I have done this so often, I could do it in my sleep. In my mind, I imagine Colan. His bright golden hair, his muscly chest, his blue eyes. Then his bum, nice and round but hard. And then... I'm tempted to make him larger than I have before, but I still want him to be able to wear trousers comfortably. Can't have him tempt the staff. Slowly, I push my inner vision of him into the magic, bidding it to form him outside of my mind. Usually, I close my eyes for this, but this time I want to see my Colan being created. An icy blue crystal is hovering in front of me, taller than your average guardian, and several times as wide. This is the cocoon in which he is being made. The blue colour of the crystal is slowly being gathered at the ends, leaving clear ice behind. Clear enough to see the shape of a male guardian trapped inside. He is naked. I don't see the point in wasting my magic on creating clothes. One of my servants will make him some. Or he can go straight to my bedchamber, where he won't need any. Focusing once again on the image in my head, I pour it into the crystal, watching as the generic shape takes on more detailed features. Golden hair sprouts from his skull, his chest becomes more defined, his biceps grow larger. Then his groin. I watch with delight as it increases in size, becoming longer and thicker. Just how I like it. I'm going to enjoy this new guardian. Now that his physical shape is complete, I work on his mind. I don't want him to behave like a child, so I give him the knowledge of any adult guardian living in this realm should have. Customs, rules, laws of the land, general knowledge about the flora and fauna, basic history, emotional matureness, and a self-preservation. When the creation is complete, I wave my hand and the crystal shatters, releasing Colan. I catch him with my magic and gently let him hover down to the ground. He's unconscious. They always are. I can't wait for him to open his blue eyes and see me, his queen, his future lover. Colan. I groan as I open my eyes. Someone is looking at me, but everything is blurry. I rub my eyes, removing the goo that has collected there. I must have been asleep for a long time to feel this groggy. I sigh and sit up, and look straight at the most beautiful woman I've ever seen. I try to describe her, but there are no words to do her justice. She's stunning and fierce and overwhelming. I rub my eyes again. Maybe I'm hallucinating. Women like that don't exist. That perfectly formed bosom, those shapely hips, the tiny waist draped in a dress that tempts rather than covers. You're awake, finally. Her voice is like icicles chiming in the wind, cold but not unfriendly, beautiful just like the rest of her. Who are you? I ask, my voice sounding foreign to me. Somehow I'm aware that I've never spoken before. But how is that possible? I know I'm an adult. I can't have been mute all my life. I search my mind for what I did before I fell asleep. There's nothing. Darkness. Maybe I had an accident. Amnesia, that's the word. I've lost my memory. Maybe the woman knows me. Maybe she can help. My name's Beira, and I'm your queen, she whispers seductively, reaching out to pull me onto my feet. She's stronger than she looks. I wave a little, getting used to the feeling of standing. This is strange. I could swear I've never stood on my own 2 feet before. What is happening to me? I'm sorry, I can't seem to remember. I stumble. Do I know you? She laughs, the most beautiful sound in the world. I want to make her laugh again and again, just to be able to listen to it. Not yet, my sweet boy, but soon you will, inside and out. Now come, I'll show you our quarters. She turns to leave, but one word resonates in my mind. Our. If we don't know each other, why would we share a room? Who is this woman? Beira, She whirls around, her bright blue eyes suddenly sparkling in irritation. Your Majesty! I'm sorry, Your Majesty, why am I here? Why can't I remember? Why are we sharing quarters? She grimaces, showing her perfect teeth. Oh, you're one of those. The one to question everything. I must have forgotten to switch that off when I created you. She smiles when I gasp, unsure of how to take her words. Yes, you're my creation. You didn't exist until a few minutes ago. Now come, chop chop. I want to try you. I stay where I am, my mind in absolute chaos. She can't be right. I have memories. No, I don't. I have knowledge. I know we're in a tower in the Winter Realm. I know how to walk, talk, breathe. I know what gods are, what guardians are. Am I a guardian? I whisper, making the connection. Guardians are created. If that is true, then all I have is her. No family, no life, no purpose. I tremble as the reality of my non-existence washes over me. Of course, you silly boy. I gave you intelligence. Did I make a mistake with that as well? What am I here for? She laughs again, but this time I can hear the coldness in her voice. To be my companion, of course. You will live in my quarters, ready for me when I want some entertainment. You have been created for my pleasure, and now I want to see if you live up to my expectations. No more talking. Follow me. She strides down the stairs of the tower, ignoring my shock and humiliation. I'm to be her sex slave? Her boy toy? No. No, I say firmly, and she looks at me with confusion. What? No, I repeat. I will not sleep with you. Oh, you don't need to sleep, she grins. I want you fully awake for this. In a flash, she's in front of me, gripping my wrist. If you refuse to come, there are other ways of getting you to our rooms. A bright white flash blinding me. When I blink open my eyes, we are no longer in the cold tower, but in a large, cosy-looking bedroom. A massive four-poster bed sits in the middle, covered in pillows. Beira releases my arm and strides forward, spreading her arms. Welcome to your new home. I frown as I take in my surroundings. It's pretty, and I'm sure I could be comfortable here, but not with her. I'm about to tell her that I refuse to be her willing concubiness, when her dress suddenly dissolves into nothing, leaving her naked. By the gods, she's beautiful. Her skin is flawless, her breasts large but firm. I can imagine that most men wouldn't hesitate jumping into her bed, but I am not most men. Put on some clothes, I say, completely ignoring the sultry looks she gives me. I will not be your sex toy, your Majesty. Undeterred, she steps forward, swaying her hips. I can feel my cock twitching traitorously. I need to stay strong. If I resist long enough, she will find someone else and let me go. I cling to that thought as she gently strokes my cheek, then presses a kiss on the other. Her lips are soft, but her breath is cold. Steeling myself against her coming wrath, I step back, crossing my arms in front of my chest. No, I will not do this. She hisses in annoyance. I could force you, silly boy. What would you do then? I shiver at the thought, but stand my ground. I have rights. Guardians have rights. She hisses again. Only because I gave them some. I can take them back just as easily. Your subjects wouldn't like that, I counter, bluffing. I know almost nothing about the people she rules, but I hope that a lot of them are guardians just like myself. Are you sure you won't change your mind? She whispers, changing her tactics. If she thinks she can charm me, she's wrong. She obviously made a mistake when she gave me free will, and now that's my greatest strength. Leave me alone, please. She steps back, an icy mask falling over her pretty face. The seductress has turned to the queen. I will make sure you change your mind, she says coldly, and I know my life is going to be a misery. Beira, 24 years ago. It's been 122 days. I've tried everything, but he keeps resisting. I've sent pretty girls to him to tempt his manhood. I've threatened, yelled, manipulated. I've even talked to him, trying to show him that I'm not the monster he thinks I am. I've given him gifts, spoiled him with the best food my cooks could produce. Then I put him into the dungeons to show him where he might spend the rest of his miserable life if he didn't comply. But it's not working. 122 days. I've taken other men into my bed and women, but none of them are filling the desire in me. The need I have for him, Colan, the only man in my realm who dares to refuse me. I should not have given him this much free will when I created him, but I wanted someone strong, not just physically, but someone I could confide in when I needed to. What a silly idea, I realise that now. I am the queen, the mother of God, creating herself a guardian because she's lonely. Angus would die from laughing if he knew. But the Summer King has a wife, as annoying as she may be. I have nobody. And the man I thought who might fill that emptiness is now sitting in a dark dungeon below the palace, hating me more with every day. Maybe I should just kill him. Maybe then the pain will go away. The humiliation, the shame. A knock on my door rips me from my thoughts. I smile. Whoever disturbed me just now will make a perfect distraction. They know they are not to come to me after dark. I will make an example of them. Frost covers my hands, growing into an icy ball. This will be fun. Then someone shouts from the other side of the door and my cold heart stops for a beat. Your Majesty, he escaped! Your prisoner escaped! Colan. It wasn't easy to escape. Beira didn't give me any magic when she created me, but at least she made me strong. It took me 2 weeks to seduce the new guard, but when she finally came to my cell, she was no match for me. Luckily, I know how to fly, one of the many things I am programmed to do. My knowledge of this area surrounding the palace is sketchy, but for now, all I want is to fly away as far as I can, away from beautiful, fierce, cold Beira. In another life, I might have liked her. She told me many things while she was trying to sway me, things I'm sure not even her closest advisors know. She's lonely, I realise that now. That's why she created me. But I cannot become the pliable man she wants me to be, and so I can't give in. I have to stay strong, which is why I'm leaving her before I can be tempted. I fly for hours, keeping close to the ground, using the white colour of my wings to my advantage. If someone saw me from high above, I might blend into the snowy landscape. Beira's realm is immense, and I know I would have to fly for days to reach its borders. The only alternative to escape from this land is using a gate, but they are closely guarded. Even if I manage to reach one, I don't know how they work or whether to travel. Beira didn't bestow me with that information when she created me. For now, I fly south, using my inbuilt sense of direction to keep me on track. Maybe the Summer King's realm is to the south. Angus is Beira's sworn enemy, and maybe I could claim asylum with him, but then, from what I have heard, he's cruel and mistreats his subjects. Even when I was in my queen's dungeon, I was still well looked after. 2 meals a day, a blanket, and occasional visits from her. Granted, she did those to get me into her bed, to persuade me to finally do her bidding. Still, it could have been much worse. When evening falls, I land in the clearing of the wild forest I've been flying over for the past 2 hours. I'm surprised there's a clearing at all. The trees are standing, bark on bark, branches wrapped around each other. Bushes and vines reach up high, making it impossible to penetrate. What a strange place. As long as I stay close to the tree line, I should be hard to spot from the skies. I have no food, but I know guardians are hardy. We get hungry, but our bodies can cope without for quite some time. Melting some snow in my hands gives me enough water to sate my thirst. It's getting dark quickly. I need to find shelter. I pick up some large spruce branches and lean them against a particularly large tree, creating a roof that will hopefully hide me from both the elements and the Queen's soldiers. I'm sure she's looking for me. I'm too important for her to just forget, even though I wish that wasn't the case. Colan, 23 years ago. Let's see what's on today's menu. Dried dandelions, a stick and a bowl of melted snow? I chuckle as I put the food on the floor and Emma jumps to it, almost ripping the dandelion out of my hand. She's a very greedy, very spoiled rabbit that adopted me a few months back. I was close to killing her when she looked at me with her big, dark eyes and began to nibble on my boots. Ever since, she's been my companion, getting me through the bouts of loneliness and despair that overwhelm me every few days. I've lived in this hut for several months now. I've lost track of how long. It's always winter in this realm, so I can't tell by the change with the seasons. But I know I've been hiding for a long time. Is Beira still searching for me? Is it safe to leave this place and go back into civilization? I'm too scared of her wrath to dare visit the nearby town. She has eyes everywhere. After all, she created this world, atom by atom. So I stay in my hut with little Emma, who is now looking at me with the same satisfied expression she always has after she's been fed. Finding and drying food for her has become a task that keeps me on my feet. She may be a snow rabbit, who should be used to getting her own food, but I've spoiled her and now she rarely leaves our house. She prefers to lie on the wooden floor, stretched out, waiting to be petted. At least it gives me something to do. But ever since she moved in, rabbit has disappeared from my menu. I look up at the shelf running along the wall just below the roof. My dried meat supplies are running low. I need to hunt again soon. I sigh at the prospect of killing another animal. But when you live in a land of eternal winter, there isn't much else to eat. I make tea from spruce needles and sweeten it with homemade maple syrup, but those are the only plant-based components of my rather boring diet. I smile at Emma, who's flopped onto her side, totally relaxed. She looks happy. Well, as happy as a bunny can look like, I assume. I don't have much experience with them except as food. Emma has changed my mind about that. I look out of the window, which really needs a clean. Dusk is falling, the perfect time to hunt. I grab my bow and quiver and leave the hut. I found it not long after I fled from the palace, little unkempt, but equipped with most of what I needed. No one has ever come to claim it, so I've made it my home. I spread my wings and jump into the air, turning west. That's where the forest is less wild, where animals can actually move in between the large trees. The forest still gives me the creeps, even after all this time. It's unnatural, the way it's grown, but it gives me shelter, so I guess I should be grateful for that. The wind is icy, but I'm used to the temperatures. They remind me of Beira. She's not called the Queen of Winter for nothing. In a way, I miss her. Having so much time and not much to do, I spend a lot of time thinking about her, pretending that it's because I don't have many other memories to linger on. I've been alive for less than a year, yet I feel like someone with a lifetime of experience. I wonder if other guardians feel the same way. I never had the chance to ask any of them. I spot an elk in a small clearing far up ahead and slow down, careful to be as quiet as possible. Luckily, the wind's howling will muffle the sound of my approach. When I'm close enough, I notch an arrow, aiming at the elk's flank. A direct shot to the heart will kill him quickly. I curse Beira for not giving me magic. It would make hunting so much easier. One deep breath. Then I will... Voices float on the wind. People! My heart pounding in fear, I look around frantically, searching for shelter. I chose this part of the forest to hunt because there isn't much cover for animals to hide, but now it means the same for me. I curse under my breath. I've become complacent, lulled into false security. I dive down through the woods towards a comparatively large spruce tree. If they are looking for me, or someone else, it won't be much use as a hiding place, but if they are just flying somewhere and are not interested in what's below, it might be just enough. I press myself against the bark, bending some of the branches around me to give me some camouflage. All I can do now is hope that they will pass over without seeing me. The voices are getting closer and I can finally hear what they're saying. Are you sure this is the right way? The accent makes me startle. It's the drawl and vowels that give it away. This man is from the Summer Realm, King Angus's domain. The diplomatic relationship between him and Beira ended a long time ago, and official envoys would travel with more people anyway. Are they spies? Assassins? One thing is clear, they are bad news. Yes, the other man replies impatiently. My contact said to stay over the forest for at least 2 hours until we reach an eye-shaped clearing, and then west for another hour, then, when we see the twin peaks in the distance, northwest until we see it. I wish that mage could have built this doorway closer to the gate, the first man whines. It's fucking cold here. You should have put on better clothes. Besides, once the gate is open, it will become a lot warmer here. I just hope the others will make it as well. 2 people aren't enough to kill the guards. I expect there will be quite a lot. But they don't know we're coming, the second man laughs. Spring is about to arrive in this realm. Beira. Loki and Thor are having fun with one of my female guardians. I watch as they impale her from both sides, bringing her to new heights of pleasure. Those two are talented lovers. No, that's the wrong word. There's no love involved. This is fun, nothing more. And she knows it, but agrees to it nonetheless. She's one of my finer creations. Willing, beautiful, very flexible. I smile sadly as they climax together, screaming and groaning like animals. Ever since Colan fled, I've not found pleasure in sleeping with my other guardians, nor with the gods who would be all too willing. Something inside me is broken, and that displeases me greatly. I am the Queen of Winter. Nothing should affect me like that. But it has, and it hurts. Watching them like this only increases the pain, but I take it as my punishment. Servants run over with wet towels to assist my naked guests with cleaning up. Thor and Loki are exhibitionists, and despite the differences, they make a great team in bed. Now that their physical hunger is stilled, they will be more pliable to listen to my proposal. I get up from my chaise longue. It's time to do some serious business. "Boys, come over to the war table," I call, and the two gods follow, skin flushed and hair ruffled. Not long ago I would have taken them here now on the table, but not any more. "What can we do for you, my queen?" Loki asks respectfully. It always saddens me that his reputation is so bad. In reality, he's a polite, gentle, and fiercely loyal god. It's a pity that Jack, the god of mischief, chose Loki as his double, preventing anyone from knowing his real identity. But I decided long ago not to get involved in those squabbles. I'd never get any work done otherwise. "I want you to find Cupid," I say, and they both frown in confusion. "How will he help the war effort?" Thor asks, disdain in his voice. He has always thought himself the sexier god. "It's complicated," I reply sternly, making it clear that I will not answer any further questions. I am the queen, no ifs and buts. Thor opens his mouth to say something, but his brother elbows him in the ribs to make him shut up. Clever boy. "We will do our very best to bring Cupid to you," Loki promises, and I give him a smile, watching as they bow and leave. Hopefully they'll find him soon. The god of love is known for lying drunk in random corners, moaning that he can't use his bow and arrows on himself. But that's the price of power. You very rarely end up being happy. Colan. I fly as fast as I can, no longer worrying about being seen. This is more important than my own life. They need to be warned. I know what gate the Summer King's men talked about, and I know how to get there. The route they're talking is long and complicated, while I know a shortcut. Beating my wings as fast as I can, I race towards the gate, hoping I will be there in time to warn them. I'm not much use in a fight. I've never learned how to use a sword, but at least I can give them a chance by letting them know that enemies are on their way. The gates are always guarded, but as they can't be opened from the other side, nobody has likely thought that the Summer King would be invading through them. I'm still not sure about how he managed to smuggle some of his people into our realm. The men mentioned a mage, but that doesn't make any sense. No mage should have the power to create a gateway into another realm. Something moves on the ground far below, a wild hare. I think of Emma alone in our hut. Will I see her again? Will she survive on her own? Luckily I installed a bunny flap, so she'll be able to leave when she gets hungry and won't starve. Poor thing. Finally, the gate comes into view. Everything seems calm. There are no scuffles or fighting. Looks like I'm just in time. When I descend, people in the blue uniform of the Queen's army come out of the yurt circling the gate, watching me curiously. We may be at war, but they don't see me as a threat. They probably think I'm just a traveller, wanting to traverse to Earth or one of the other realms. I land not as gracefully as I'd like, but my limbs are half frozen from flying in the icy wind. One of the guards approaches me, but before he can say anything I shout, "They're going to attack! They'll be here any minute. You have to inform the Queen." "What are you on about?" he asks, looking at me as if I'm crazy. "Have you had too much to drink?" "I overheard 2 people from the Summer Realm. They're going to attack this gate to let in Angus's army. You need to gather your soldiers now and tell Her Majesty." "Who are you? How dare you give me orders?" the man shouts, suddenly angry. How do I get him to listen to me? There's only one way. I am a fugitive wanted by Queen Beira. I'm sure she'll give you a reward if you call her now and let her know that you captured me. He immediately whistles, and 2 soldiers appear from behind him. "Cuff him! I need to talk to the Queen." They do as he says, approaching me carefully, but I don't struggle. I knew that if I flew to warn these people, I'd be captured or killed. If only they would listen to me. With the main guard gone, I try and persuade the other 2 soldiers holding me. There are summer warriors coming to attack this gate. You need to prepare your comrades. They won't expect you to be ready for the onslaught. If you want to survive, you need to listen to me and get everyone ready. One of them ignores me, but the other looks thoughtful. Does that mean he'll do something? I know you, he murmurs in a sigh of frustration. You're the guardian she's been looking for. Colan, isn't it? Aye, that's me. But why would you hand yourself in like that? He seems genuinely confused. Because they're going to attack you. Didn't I say this several times already? Did Beira create them to be especially stupid? Or maybe he got fed up on being on the run, the guard who has ignored me so far grumbles. Maybe he wants to be the Queen's boy toy after all. Anger bubbles up in my chest, but I stay quiet. It's not worth it. I just hope that their superior will contact Beira. Only some guardians have the power to communicate with each other over large distances, but there is at least one of them at every gate. We wait in the cold for what feels like forever. The summer warriors could be here any moment. I really don't need them to come while I'm cuffed and helpless. Bring him here! Someone yells, and my guards shove me towards the largest of the yurts. Inside it's warm and cosy. I wish I could sit down and warm up my frozen limbs, but I'm pretty sure that they wouldn't think that appropriate for a prisoner. She wants to talk to him, the guardian says, stepping out of the shadows. A large beard hides most of his face, but it doesn't hide all of the scars marring his skin. I wonder how many battles he's been in. Step forward, he tells me, and one of the guards pushes me before I can even take a step. The scarred guardian puts a hand on my forehead, and without warning, I'm ripped from my body. If you're enjoying this story, then you can actually buy it now, or read it for free on Kindle Unlimited in the Breaking a Myth anthology. Beira. Colan, he'd been found. Wrong, he handed himself in. I didn't expect that from him. There had to be a reason. And he's going to tell me, even if I have to squeeze it from his puny guardian brain. I once again connect with the soldier who told me in the first place. Through his eyes I see Colan. He's grown thin and a beard hides his beautiful face. I will make him shave it off, it makes him look too old. But the defiant stare he gives me is still the same. He's just as will-strong as when I last saw him. It aggravates me, and I can see myself destroy him over it. He needs to bow to me, finally become what I created him to be. Maybe his return is a sign that he wants to change. Maybe it will all be as I had planned. The soldier grabs Colan's face and gives me access to his connection to my guardian. His mind is beautiful, just like I expected. He's even prettier inside than out. And right now he's shouting at me. Beira, they're going to attack the gate. You need to send reinforcements. I gasp in shock at his insolence. It's your Majesty, and don't you dare tell me what to do. Fuck you. They're going to arrive any moment. Are you just going to let us all be slaughtered? The desperation in his mind stops me from punishing him for the use of language. I focus until I can see further into him, reaching the memories floating on the surface. He's telling the truth, and he's panicking for good reason. He's in danger. My Colan is in danger. I'm on my way, I say, and break the connection. In my mind I send a message to Tamara to ready my Queen's Guard. With a simple thought, my battle armour appears on me, as does my whip. It's my weapon of choice for obvious reasons. Whips are sexy and deadly if a goddess wields them. I concentrate on the palace's main courtyard and appear there a moment later. Most of my guards have already arrived, many still in various stages of putting on their armour. I wave my hands to help them with my magic, getting them dressed within a heartbeat. Their amazed gasps stroke my ego. If only someone else was stroking me. The western gate is under attack, I call out, and everyone is silent immediately. Some spies have somehow made it into our realm and are on their way to open the gate. We will not let that happen. They all roar their agreement and lift their swords in the air. That was easy. I didn't even have to do a rousing speech. But they all know how essential the gates are for all of us. If they're closed, we're trapped in this realm. If they open without us guarding them, anyone could enter my kingdom. And not just the Summer King's armies, but demons or worse. Gather around me, I command, and they scramble to follow. Stock, the captain of my guard, salutes me as he takes his place among his fighters who have now formed a circle with me in his centre. They all know the procedure. I could easily transport them all. Hell, I could transport every person in this palace if I wanted to, but they need to be ready to fight and protect each other if our enemies have already arrived. Focusing my mind on the gate, I gather up their life energies and hold them close as I take a step forward. Battle noise surrounds us. We are late. We are too late. It's chaos. Usually there are at least 8 guards stationed at each gate, but I can only see 3 of them still standing, fighting for their lives. There are bodies on the ground, several of them in the royal uniform. Curse Angus and his subterfuge. He's never had an ounce of honour, and he's proving it once again. My guardians plunged themselves into the battle, trying to fend off the intruders. There are dozens of them. Where did they come from? I'm going to put Tamara onto it. She has ways of finding answers. She may seem like a lovely old lady on the outside, but inside she's my most ruthless adviser. Who knows why she still insists on keeping up her pretence of being the mistress of the household? Everybody knows she's in fact my head of intelligence. With a snap of my fingers, I free several summer soldiers and let my own fighters hack them to pieces. I could, of course, kill them all in one go, but my guards need the exercise. I am more interested in where Colan is hiding. That's the only possibility my mind allows. He has to be still alive. I'm sure I'd know it if he died. I'd feel it. I've poured too much of myself into him when I created that insolent bastard. 2 of the yurts are on fire, but the biggest one is still intact, albeit some of the walls have been slashed. I hurry towards it, beheading one brave enemy who dares to come too close to me and my whip. With a gust of wind, I open the yurt's leather door flap, giving me a view of the inside. 2 men are lying on the ground in pools of blood. One of them is wearing a guard's uniform. I dismiss him. The other, Colan. He's pale and lifeless. Despair floods me, but I slam up my barriers. Now is not the time for emotions. Not that it ever is. I am the Queen of Winter. I am cold, inside and out. I focus my magic on him and I explore his body. He's lost a lot of blood, but there's a tiny spark left in his heart, just waiting for me to give it a gentle push, a whiff of energy, and it starts again, beating, his heart alive. I create new skin to close his wounds, but even with my powers I can't replace his blood. All I can do is tell his body to produce more, faster. I lift him off the ground and take him into my arms, bringing us back into the palace, straight to the healer. Theodore is waiting for us. He's prepared the large healing room where rows of bed line the walls, ready for dozens of casualties. But I don't care about the others. The only one that matters is Colan, whose heart is slowly starting to fail once more. He's light in my arms. He's been wasting away since the last I saw him. He can't have had an easy few months, but then neither did I, even though I'm surrounded by pomp and splendour. He's been missing all my life, even though I didn't know it back then. I put Colan down on one of the beds and Theodore hurries over, magic glowing around his hands as he examines my guardian. His face grows serious. There's poison in his blood, he mutters while continuing to wave his hands over Colan's body. And he's weak from starvation. I'm not sure his body will be able to withstand the poison, even with my skills. Cold rage grips me, and with a yell I lash out with my magic and squeeze the healer's windpipe, making him struggle to breathe. "Your Majesty!" he groans, but at that moment Colan moans softly and I release Theodore, kneeling down by Colan's side. A tiny bit of colour has returned to his cheeks, although it's hard to see with all that hair. I send a bit of magic to his face and shave off his beard. There, much better. I prefer to be able to see all of him. Theodore is coughing, but he knows all me too well to complain. Instead, he continues to roam over Colan's body, continuing examination. At this moment I hate my powers. I can create, but I cannot heal. I can't mend what is already there. I could create a new Colan or even a new heart for him, but I can't fix his current one. Some days I wish I could mend my own. "Colan, can you hear me?" I ask him as he slowly moves his head. He doesn't respond, and the healer's movements are becoming more frantic. I believe he's in pain. The poison is destroying his organs one by one. I can try and stop it, but I will only be able to keep it at bay for a while. How long? A week, maybe 2. If I siphon up the poison into one part of his body, I might be able to give him some quality of life. He'll be conscious and he'll be able to move around. But it's only a temporary solution. The Summer King's poison is always deadly. No exceptions. Then I will make this week the best week a guardian's ever had, I say, my voice quivering slightly. This is so unlike me. Perhaps it would be wise to stay in my quarters for now. I don't want my subjects to get any bad ideas if they think I'm not as stern as I usually am. That said, I should probably check on my troops. Stock, my captain, would have contacted me if they were in trouble, but still. Do whatever you can for him, I command, and Theodore bows. Then bring him to my quarters. I want him to be comfortable. I'm tempted to give Colan a kiss on his pale forehead, but not with the healer watching my every move. Instead, I leave, appearing at the gate a second later. The battle is finished, and my soldiers are already moving bodies onto 2 piles. One for the Summer King's warriors, one for my own. I'm glad to see that their losses have been higher, but without my Colan, we would have surely lost and the gate would have been taken. Stock! I shout, and he comes running immediately. Increase the guards at each gate threefold at least. Gather the wounded around me. I will transport them back to the palace. Thank you, my queen, he says, and salutes me, creating a bloody stain on his forehead. He turns and shouts some orders, getting his men to carry the casualties to me. I will get them back to the palace much faster than if they'd have to be flown there. It hurts to be away from Colan, but as always, my duty comes first. I look down at the wounded soldiers around me, many of them screaming in agony. Angus will pay for this. Colan. I expected there to be pain, but I feel nothing. My body is numb, and I'm grateful for it. I've been half-conscious for a while, and I know Beira is sitting by my side, watching me. I can hear her breathing. I still find it curious that she breathes just like the rest of us, that her body isn't all that different from that of us guardians. Her mind is very different, though. When I was living on my own, I thought about it a lot. If I had the power to create, would I make myself a wife, a companion, or even a servant? I usually came up with no as the answer, but if I'd been alive as long as she had, maybe it wasn't out of haughtiness that she created guardians for her pleasure. Maybe it was loneliness. With an enormous effort, I open my eyes. Everything is blurry, and the colours look washed out somehow. I blink, but it doesn't make it any better. I can see Beira's silhouette, but my eyesight is too bad to make out her expression. Are you awake? She asks quietly and bends down, slowly coming into focus. She's just as beautiful as I remember, but for the first time her bright blue eyes have something vulnerable in them. There are faint lines around them that I hadn't noticed before. In this moment she looks more guardian than goddess. I can't see, I whisper hoarsely. In response, she gently lifts my head and holds a glass of water to my lips. I drink greedily, only now realizing how thirsty I'd been. I clear my throat as she lowers me back onto the fluffy pillow, waiting for my voice to return to normal. What happened? I ask, and she sighs. You were stabbed by a poisoned dagger. The healer managed to contain the poison for now, but it's going to spread. I know about the summer poison. It eats you inside, and nothing can stop it. I close my eyes as I imagine it coursing through me, looking for where best to strike. It must have already affected my eyes. I'm going to die. Perhaps it's time. I've been alive for less than a year, but it's been nothing but trouble. I was born to be someone I'm not, created by a lonely goddess in the image of a random man she met at a party. No wonder it didn't work out. What I have to decide now is how I want to spend the last few days of my life. I could continue to be Beira's prisoner, like I was before I fled. Or I could give in to her, abandoning my principles. She's pretty and sexy, and if I met her somewhere else, I wouldn't hesitate. She's the dream woman every man aches for. But there is still that pesky problem of me being created for her pleasure. I still want to be her toy. I will do my best to make you happy, the Queen whispers sadly. I failed you before. I ignored your wishes and only focused on my own. Now I'm going to take care of you. What happened to the old Beira? The cold, icy goddess who threw me in prison because I didn't respond to her advances. Are you hungry? I don't know. My body is numb all over. I don't feel warmth or hunger or pain. Again she smiles sadly. I will have them bring some food. Maybe the sight of it will make you hungry. Are cinnamon buns still your favourite? I don't know how she was aware of that. Sure, during the phase where she tried to woo me with the best food and drink, she told the cook to make my favourite dishes, but it was the servants who asked what I wanted. I can't remember her ever asking what I liked, or my opinion in general. Maybe I underestimated her. Maybe she does care about me, a little. Yes, they are my favourite, I reply after a pause. I didn't expect you to know. She sighs. After you left, I made it my business to find out as much as I could about your likes and dislikes. I thought it might help me find you again." She chuckles quietly. "Not that cinnamon buns help with that." She frowns on concentration for a moment and knows she just ordered our food. Now that we've talked about it, I am feeling slightly peckish. When was the last time I ate? It seems a long time ago, when I was still in the hut with little Emma. I wonder if she's still there. But with me dying, it wouldn't be worth bringing her here. She deserves a life as a free bunny, not a palace pet. Beira gets up from her place by my side and goes to take our food from one of her attendants. I move until I'm sitting upright, again surprised by the lack of pain. But at the same time, my body feels wrong. It's too passive somehow, as if I don't have full control over it. The Queen hands me a steaming cinnamon bun, and I breathe in the delicious scent. I take a bite and close my eyes in delight as the icing sugar melts in my mouth. Delicious. Beira laughs at my enthusiasm and takes a bite herself. "You are right, these are good. I should ask for them more often." When we have finished our meal, I look at her curiously. "What happens now? How long do I have?" "About a week, 10 days at most. I will make sure there won't be any pain, and until then, anything you want, just ask me." "And if I wanted to leave?" She looks down at the floor, hiding her face from me. "Then I would let you go." It must have been hard for her to say that, but I know she means every word. Beira has changed, and I'm slowly falling in love with this new her. Beira. He puts his hand on my own, and I look up at him. I hope he won't spot the tiny ice crystals that have formed on my eyelashes. "I won't leave you," he murmurs, and my heart takes a little jump. "You've just proven to me that you're a decent person." He sighs. "I'm dying, so let's put all the cards on the table. I've not just been running from you. I've been running from myself as well. It took me a long time to figure out, and it's a hard truth to accept. I knew that if I stayed, I would have given in to you sooner or later. But I wanted to keep to my principles. You created me, I had no choice. You made me into something that I didn't want to be, and yet I found you fascinating. But how would I have been able to tell my own feelings apart from those that you may have programmed into me? I didn't have a choice. I had to leave before I lost myself in you." He chuckles slightly. "You were very convincing. Not the dungeon bit, though, not that." I join his laugh, revelling in the sound of our voices together. "Yes, maybe that was a little too much. But I was desperate." I close my mouth before I say anything incriminating. Just because he's telling me all his feelings doesn't mean I have to tell him mine. "If this were a fairy tale, we'd hug and kiss now," he says, his voice almost a whisper. He takes me aback with that sentence. Kiss? Does that mean he wants to? Or is this purely hypothetical? If I approach him now, will that destroy the delicate peace we have found? Maybe I should settle for friendship. He only has a few days left. I don't want to make them awkward for either of us, but especially not for him. He should rest and get everything he wants to. If he wants to eat nothing but cinnamon buns, that's fine. I will provide him with anything he needs or desires. I will make this the best week of his life. "Kiss me," he suddenly whispers, and I stare at him. I must have misheard. He smiles at my surprised expression. Why should I continue holding back? Maybe it's time to forget about the past and start anew, even if our future is rather short. A tear runs down my cheek, freezing halfway down. How did I manage to create someone so pure, so beautiful? "Kiss me," he asks again, and this time I do as he says. My lips are cold against his warm ones. I open my mouth and let him in, giving him leave to bring warmth into my frozen soul. Our kiss is delicate but passionate. I let him set the pace as he pulls me closer until I'm joining him on the bed. I slip under the covers and hug his body, straddling him while never breaking the kiss. I roam my hands over his chest. He is still strong, but he has lost a lot of muscle. Noticing once again how thin his ribs are, how weak he has become, I pull back. "Are you sure you want to do this?" He follows my movement and gently kisses me again. "I've never been so sure of anything. Show me what you've been promising me." I smile as I remember all the sexual pleasures I described to him in the past. We won't have time to put them all into practice, but we could start at the beginning. With a single thought, I remove our clothing that prevents me from touching all of him. He explores my body, cupping my breasts, trailing soft kisses down my neck. No longer able to wait, I guide him to my core and moan as he enters me. He starts to move, and something breaks in me, something I had built around my heart. I know it will take a long time to rebuild it, but for now, I am going to enjoy the love I feel for Colan. It is a gentle, slow love-making, not what I had imagined when I created him, but right in this moment it's perfect. I never needed Cupid to get him to love me. Somehow, we managed to find each other in the end. We moan in unison as we come together, me wrapped around him, holding him tightly. I don't want to let go. Epilogue. As his body slowly turns to ash and gets carried away by the winter wind, I feel something move in me. I know what it is, but so far I've been ignoring the fact that I'm pregnant. I don't know what to think about it. It's the first time that I let myself be fertile while being with a man. It wasn't a conscious decision, but I don't regret it. I will have a child, the first demigod in a long time. Children of gods aren't allowed. They have too much raw power that can destroy far more than anyone can imagine. After the Hercules situation, I myself decreed that demigods were not allowed to grow up in the realms. Only after the magic has stabilized are they to be allowed to return. But the prospect of spending 22 years away from their children, one of the few things we learned about demigods is that magic comes into full power when they are that age, prevents most from ever having babies. Of course, they could go to Earth with them, but that place isn't made for gods. The absence of magic makes us depressed. In my case, it gets painful after even just a few days. But this little life growing inside of me is part of Colan. Even though he's no longer with me, this child will continue his legacy. So I will keep her, birth her, and then find a good home for her on Earth. It will be a long wait, but I'm sure it will be worth it. I will finally have a daughter, and I will name her Winter. So this is the end of Beira and Colan's story, but it's only just the beginning of a much bigger tale. Fast forward 23 years into the future, and you meet Wynne, a young demigoddess ready to explore her magic in the Daughter of Winter series, a paranormal reverse harem set in Scotland.